The skills that made you the number one rep on your team are actively working against you right now. Not will eventually, right now, today. The instincts that closed your deals, the hustle that won you the trips, the exact things your company rewarded you for, a lot of them are quietly sabotaging you the moment you take that leadership seat and start to run a sales team. And nobody warned you because on paper it makes absolutely no sense. You were the best rep, you had the best numbers, obvious promotion. So when it gets hard, you assume you just need to try harder at the thing that got you there. And that's the trap. The thing that got you here in this leadership role is the exact thing that is capping you right now. In the next 15 minutes, I'm going to show you the identity shift almost every new sales leader misses. The 3 specific traps that take down great reps, and how all of it maps back onto the equation this whole channel is built upon. If you were promoted for being great at the job you no longer have, this one's for you. I'm Travis Huff. Let's get into it. If you watch the first 2 videos, you know the equation energy times execution equals elite leadership. It's multiplication, not addition. If either side is 0, the whole thing is a 0. In video 2, you scored yourself on both cheerleader, operator, firefighter, or elite. This video answers the question a lot of you had right after that video, and that is, how did I even get here? You got promoted because you were a great rep. Congratulations, you're awesome. What do you do now? Think about what that actually means. Nobody gets tapped for the manager job because they had the cleanest CRM or the most disciplined pipeline or because their forecast was accurate to the dollar. You got tapped because you won. You were great. You drove personal revenue because you outworked the room, because you wanted it more, because you found a way when everyone else made excuses. You had drive, belief, competitiveness. You had hustle. You had grit. Hold on to those words because they matter. You were promoted for a very specific set of traits, and it was the right call. Those traits are real. They're rare and they're valuable. But here's what nobody tells you at the promotion lunch, the offer. You got hired into a completely different job. They handed you the title without telling you that the job changed. Here's the shift, and I want to say it as plainly as I can. You went from scoring points to coaching scores. That's a big difference. As a rep, your job was put points on the board. Your deals, your number, your name at the top of the leaderboard. The whole system was built to measure one thing, what you personally produced, and you were elite at it. As a leader, you don't score points anymore. Your name comes off the leaderboard. Your job is now to make 8, 10, 12 other people score points, including people who will never do it in the way that you did, may never do it at the level that you did, some of whom you wouldn't have hired, most of whom don't have your wiring. This is not a promotion. This is a career change. Same industry, totally different craft. It's the difference between being the best player on the team and being the coach. And we all know those are 2 different jobs because we've all watched a superstar athlete become a mediocre coach and a bench warmer become a legendary one. The reason the shift is so brutal is that everything that used to be your strength now belongs to someone else's hands. As a rep, when a deal was on the line, you could just do something about it. Be great. Pick up the phone. Get on a plane. Close it. That control was your superpower. But as a leader, the deal is on the line and your hands are tied behind your back. If you never make that identity shift, if some part of you still believes your job is to score, you will spend your entire sales management career reaching over your rep's shoulders to grab the ball, which is exactly the first trap. So let's name the 3 traps that take down great sales reps Every one of them is a rep strength that you had that curdles into a leadership weakness. As I go, be honest about which one is yours. And I bet most of you have a clear number one. Trap number one, hero selling, what it looks like. A rep's deal is stuck. You can smell it slipping. So you do what you've always done. You jump on the call, you help, and you close it yourself. The deal's saved. Great job. You feel like a leader. Everyone claps. The rep's super stoked that you help them get the deal across the line. Why great reps fall into this trap? This is the single hardest instinct to kill because it's the exact instinct that got you promoted. Rescuing a deal feels like leadership. It's productive. It's visible. It's a dopamine hit. It puts a number on the board today, revenue. Why it's actually the opposite of leadership? You didn't build a seller. You built a save. Think about that. Next quarter, that rep hits the same wall on a different deal. The only thing that they learned is that when it gets hard, you take over. You've trained your team to escalate instead of to close. You've made yourself the single point of failure for every single hard deal in the pipeline. And here's the math that should scare you. Your ceiling is now your own two hands. You can hero sell one deal at a time, but your team has 40. Think about this. Every deal you hero sell is a coaching moment you stole from a rep. The short-term win costs you the long-term seller. Elite leaders feel the exact same itch to grab the ball, and they sit on their hands and coach the rep through it instead. That's the whole discipline. This is the firefighter from video one wearing a cape. It feels heroic, but it's actually the ceiling. Trap number two, cloning yourself. What it looks like, you teach every single rep to sell the way that you sold. Your discovery questions, your objection handling, your cadence, your style. And when a rep doesn't do it your way, you get frustrated. You say things like, why don't they just do what I did? Why don't they just do what I told them to do? So why do great reps fall into this trap? Because your way worked for you. You have living proof, your own track record. So it feels obvious, even generous, to hand each rep the exact same playbook that made you great. But here's why it fails. Your playbook worked because it ran on your wiring, your personality, your strengths, your instincts. Bolt it onto a rep who's wired differently, and it doesn't just underperform, it actually breaks what they've been great at, what they would have been great at. You take a rep whose superpower is patient relationship building, and you try to turn them into an aggressive closer like you. And now they're a bad copy of you instead of a great version of themselves. So the deeper cost is a team of clones has one style, which means one set of blind spots, which means one type of deal that you can always win, and three types of deals that you most commonly lose. Diversity of selling styles is a strength that you're grinding away in the name of consistency. So your job isn't to produce clones of yourself. It's to find each rep's natural game and build that to its ceiling. Coach the rep in front of you, not the rep in the mirror. We'll go deeper later in how to do this in the coaching video later in the series. Coaching different profiles differently is a skill set of its own. All right, trap number 3, confusing activity with leadership. This is a big one. Here's what it looks like. You're busy, slammed, in back-to-back meetings all day. You're in every deal. You're in the CRM at night, answering every Slack in 90 seconds. You end the week exhausted, and you tell yourself that's leadership feels like. It's what it looks like. Why great reps fall into this trap? As a rep, activity was the job. More calls, more demos, more pipeline, more output. There was a near perfect line between great sales activity and how busy you were and how much you produced. Motion equaled results. The right sales actions created the revenue. That equation is burned into you. Why it breaks in the leadership seat. Your output is no longer your activity. Your output is your team's capability. And those two things can move in opposite directions. The busier you are personally doing rep work, the less time you spend building the systems and the people that actually scale. Being in every deal isn't leadership. It's rep behavior in a leader's chair dressed up as dedication. If you disappeared for a week, would your team run or would it stall? A rep who's crushing it and disappears, the numbers take a hit. A leader who's built it right and disappear, the machine keeps running. One of the greatest comments I've ever heard, if your team continues to produce when you're gone, you've built the right system. If your team can't function without you in every deal, you've built a very expensive version of your old job. So stop measuring yourself by how full your calendar is and start measuring yourself by what your team can do without you in the room. Busy is a rep metric. Leverage is a leadership metric. All right, now let's tie all three of these back to the equation because there's a pattern underneath them. And once you see it, the whole thing unlocks. It clicks. Go back to those words I told you to hold on to. Why did you get promoted? Drive, belief, competitiveness, hustle, grit, wanting it more than anyone else in the room. That's energy. Every single one of those is energy, that side of the equation. Reps get promoted on energy. Nobody gets the manager job, the leadership role for their operating cadence. They get it for the fire. You arrived in the leadership seat rich on energy and through no fault of your own, near empty on the other side. Because when would you have built execution systems? You were a rep. You didn't need a coaching framework or a forecast methodology or a weekly cadence. You needed to hit your numbers, your quota, and your energy did that. So here's the picture. New sales leader shows up at maybe a 9 on energy and a 2 on execution. Okay, remember the multiplication math. 9 times 2 equals 18. And remember, the equation is multiplication. 9 times 2 is 18. Out of 100, a wildly talented, high-energy leader capped hard by the side they were never taught to build. And what do all three traps have in common? Every one of them is a leader reaching for more energy to solve an execution problem. Deal stuck, hero sell it. That's energy. Reps struggling, make them into you. That's energy. Team underperforming, grind harder, be busier. That's energy. You keep cranking the 9 because it's the number that feels like you, and you never touch the 2 that's actually capping the whole equation. That's video 1's lesson aimed straight at the newly promoted. You're polishing the number that isn't the problem. Great reps fail as leaders because they try to lead with the exact strength that got them promoted. And leadership was never an energy problem. It's an execution one. So here's one assignment this week, not 3, just 1. Look at your pipeline and find one deal that you're personally hero selling right now. You know the one. It's the deal you've quietly taken where you're the one driving the next steps, where if you're honest, the rep has become a spectator on their own opportunity. Find that deal. And this week, hand it back to the rep. But as this is the whole point, you don't just dump it back on their desk and walk away. You hand it back with a coaching plan, 3 parts. 1, name the single skill this deal can teach them. Pick the skill that this specific deal is perfectly built to develop. Number 2, give them the next steps they own. The call they run, the email they send, and you stay off of it. Your hands stay behind your back. And 3, book the debrief now. After their next steps, you sit down and review what that customer actually did. Evidence, not feelings. And you coach the rep from there. Here's the trade you're making. You're giving up one deal you probably could have saved this quarter in exchange for a rep who can save the next 10 without you. That trade, one closed deal for one leveled up seller, that is the single trade that turns a great rep into a great leader. Make it once this week, then make it a habit. And that's the foundation. 3 videos. Video 1 gave you the equation, energy times execution. Video 2 diagnosed which leader you are today. And this one showed you how you got there and the traps to climb out of. Now, the real work starts. Building the execution side, almost nobody handed you, because if you were promoted on energy and you're failing on execution, the next move is obvious. We build the systems. And the very first one, the spine, everything else hangs on, is your weekly operating cadence. How you run your team's week so it stops running you. That's the next video. And it's where the execution pillar begins. If you haven't yet, go take the free E-Squared Leadership Index, 16 questions. It's really quick, about 4 minutes. It scores your energy and your execution, gives you your archetype, and hands you a building plan for your weak side. If you just realize you're an all-energy leader running on a rep's instincts, that assessment will tell you exactly where to start. Links in the description and the pinned comment below. It's at elitesalesleader.com/index. And drop a comment. Which of the 3 traps is yours? Be honest. I read everyone, and I guarantee you're not the only one who picked it. I'm Travis Huff. Stop scoring. Start coaching. I'll see you in the next video.